video that's probably more on the serious side. I was going to title it The Bipolar Bodybuilder, but that's just too cheesy, so I'm going to name it Living, Training, Growing, Gaining, Existing with Mental Illnesses, in my case being bipolar. So this video is of course not intended to cure or make anything better, because just to say I'm not qualified to do anything, but it's more like my personal account, what I've been dealing with, and maybe it helps somebody out there. That would be great. So basically, I was diagnosed a couple years ago, with being bipolar, which is a condition that manifests itself by extreme mood swings, such as being very hyper, lots of energy, and being depressed. Sounds fun, especially the up phase, but you're making a lot of dumb decisions financially, in terms of relationships, personal safety, and so on and so forth, and it can essentially kill you. So people go up on the Brooklyn Bridge, they think they can fly, etc. So that's number one. The first issue is with any type of mental illness is the stigma, right? I live in New York City, so it's probably a bit easier, but my background is German, which doesn't make it so easy, because, you know, all kind of cliches have a root in reality, and, you know, being German is like, yeah, things have to work, have to function, and so do you. So when you don't function, then you'll be seen as weak or a failure, that kind of thing. It has gotten better in my beloved home country. I'm making this up, maybe 8 years back, the goalie of the national soccer team killed himself because of depression, and that really set off sort of a rethinking process about mental illness. But there's still a stigma. So people approach you as maybe, you know, you're not all there, this, that, the other. Over the years, I've gotten more or less immune to that. I just point to my resume and I say I'm plenty together, live with it. So that's that. Now, you have this disease, which is for now not curable, but that doesn't mean that you're not responsible, right? So let's say somebody has cancer, then that person has to go get antibodies, because they're not going to go away on his own. So if you have any of that sort, you are responsible for your behavior. In my case, it's especially the case in the manic phase, when you're basically making really dumb decisions, right? So years ago, somebody told me, well, the mania is basically you in your car, but you're not driving, somebody else is driving really, really fast, and you hope it doesn't crash. That's not quite true. You should have never let that guy in, okay? Sort of like you are drunk, you hit somebody, you say, whoa, that wasn't me, you know, I was boozed. That's your problem, you shouldn't have been drinking. So in the mania, you are responsible to get to that point where bad things happen. In the depressive phase, which is, interesting enough, not so dangerous, it's just longer and it sucks because, you know, you're just in bed, you don't do anything, you're responsible for not becoming a vegetable. In my case, it's a bit easier because I do not have sick days around my own business, but it's also around our own people, so I have to go out, I have to make contact. I don't always like it, but I have to, and it's actually, it saves me from, you know, becoming the #1 Netflix watcher. So those are your responsibilities. You have to, you know, seek treatment and make do with the disease. Let's see what I have next. What does all this have to do with bodybuilding? A lot. Because bodybuilding gives you structure, right? So there's meals, there's workouts, and so on and so forth. A structured day is the key to overcome any type of mental illness. Because if you have to go to the gym, you can't stay in bed. If you have to eat certain foods, you have to sleep at a certain time. That will help you fending off the mania. The mania, the critical thing is to go to bed at the right times. So if you fatigue yourself with training, then you have a higher chance of making it. So training can be used as not medicine, but thereabouts. So if you're in the mania, you can fatigue yourself so that you don't go into the next orbit. If you are in the depressive phase, you can use training to not feel too bad. Obviously, the degree of training would vary. So let's say in the mania, you might train 4 hours a day because you have all this energy, it needs to be burned off. Whereas in the depressive phase, you might only manage 20 minutes, but it's better than nothing. Now, anything that's being used as a band-aid is probably not the greatest idea. So, you know, use with caution. I do think, though, in my personal stupid opinion, that training beats alcohol or recreational drugs to get rid of those feelings. So training can be extremely helpful in managing a type of mental illness. What are the dangers? Well, in bodybuilding, of course, if you are somewhat good, there's a lot of admiration. Can be, right? So let's say you're in a mania and you already think that you're the greatest thing ever, and then you're being approached or whatever. You really think you might be the guy or the girl, and that leads to bad decisions, especially if you're married. You might step out of your marriage, these kind of things. So just be aware and take everything the best sense of reality. The same thing is that you might start thinking you're Superman. So with my size, for instance, if I bump into somebody in the New York City subway, even though it's not my fault, no cop will believe me if this guy attacks me, right? So, know your place, and just when things happen, be cautious. Then, of course, there's a dark side of bodybuilding. I mean, the drugs. So, steroids and also, amphetamines or fat burners should be avoided because they're psychoactive, and that's the last thing you need. So, if you are diagnosed with that, you're using medication to bring you down, you shouldn't use other medication, especially that you purchased God knows where, to bring you back up. So don't do that. Then there's social media. Social media is a problem for anybody. I think this can be really annoying, even though you're watching on social media. But if you are having these mood swings, you feel that you're better than everybody, you're awesome, you make nasty comments to people, or you suck, you shouldn't be alive, you're terrible. As I get older, because I'm really old now, luckily I really don't care. The less I care about what other people do, what they look like, what I place, the photos I take, the better I can do. So social media just have to get to a more zen-like state where you simply, just ignore it and move on. I think that's probably what anybody should do, even though if you're not dealing with any type of mental illness. Next point, there is obviously a discrepancy between the outside and the inside. So I've been told, I know this obviously, but when I'm in a depressive phase, that nobody could ever know. Like I go to work, I'm the same, but the inside is obviously, much more fragile. So that can lead to a polykick situation, especially if I'm on a manic swing, and somebody, rubs me the wrong way or so, then I can easily overreact. So just keep that in mind, that, try to be as close as you can, but without feeling constantly sorry for yourself. But, be aware that what other people perceive and what you are is not the same. And that's okay, that goes for most people anyways. What to do with this? I don't know. Well, Mike, that was helpful. Great video. I think, the first thing is you just have to, I hate the word admit it or whatever, but come to terms that you having this disease. So some people are allergic to nuts, right? Some people are afraid of heights, and you may or may not have this. As soon as you come to terms with this, the better you will do. And then there's no particular order. There's sort of training, diet, therapy, and medication. Yes, medication. I've tried without. Don't do that. You just can't will it away. It will cost you so much more. I mean, I've lost hundreds of thousands of dollars, friends, you name it. You cannot beat the manic phases just by thinking you can. You just cannot. So, luckily if you're watching this, you're probably living in a part of the world that has somewhat appropriate medical care, and you can get help. You will need some degree of medication. It doesn't have to be too much, but you need to be stabilized. Just by the same token that, nobody who has cancer would ever say, grapefruit juice, man, it's gonna kill all the tumors. Just drink grapefruit juice. Doesn't work. And then you need to build some sort of a net, so that a support net, that if things go the other way, people that care for you, that love you, know the signs and can take the appropriate measurements. That doesn't mean you have to be committed right away, but maybe that they say you need to change the medication or so on and so forth before you spin under control. Of course, that requires a lot of trust in those people, right? Because, they almost hold power of attorney. And When you're in the mania, it's too late. Because then you think you know everything and so on and so forth, you're not going to listen to anybody. But it's a process. It's not easy, trust me. I've done it, and it's very difficult. But in the end, it will save your life and your relationship, your finances for that matter. So, find a way. So I think bodybuilding, or from that any sport, can be very helpful. And I actually think that therapists should place a great emphasis on working out and eating right in terms of treating all these illnesses, not just medication. And for now we don't have a cure, but you can definitely manage it. And I hope you do well and it all works out. Drop me a message if you think I can be helpful.